got to talk. We
I
have got
forgot.
to talk about. I know, right? We got sidetracked by my meeting with fame. My what is it? My flash. My what is the phrase? The flash of no, like I don't know. My brush with fame.
There it is.
There it
I thought
is.
he was about to. I thought you were about to give him the link to the podcast. I was ready to just sit back and listen to him talk. Our
Right.
first guest is a big one.
Our first guest of the night. Yeah, no. So, yes. Oh, so House of the Dragon.
I liked it. It was a lot. It was a
It was a
lot
lot.
this episode. It was a lot. The story moved forward a lot. There wasn't as much death and all that, which
Right.
was fine. I guess you saw a lot of it last episode. Um, I think I felt like there was a lot of stories to track. So that kind of threw me off a bit, but then I took a step back and I thought it was a really good episode. But like you had texted me, there was a lot to unpack, which is why we didn't do this last night. Because honestly, if we had done it last night, I would have kind of just been very confused. I had to process some things.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot. It it was there's just so much. Like, um, man, one of the big things that stood out to me was the how it showed both of them in the as mothers, but one was being completely ignored and overlooked as far as her um counsel went and her opinions. And you frame that, you mirror that, or with Rhaenyra and her son Jacaerys, how they were together at the end talking about, like she's like, I didn't care that you took off, like I'm glad, he's throwing ideas at her. They're bouncing things back off of each other. They
Yeah.
come up with the whole dragon seed thing. Like, let's check into getting some of these dragons, settled up. But I mean, like how Allison was like completely dismissed by
Well,
Aemon.
like the people said on social media, she helped usurp the throne mainly
Oh yeah.
because with the main point being they didn't want a woman to serve. And now she's surprised that the men are looking at her and are like, oh no, you can't rule. Like you
You
go
yeah,
sit over there.
yeah, like Laris
Well, I
literally
ruled
said to
before.
her,
You ruled during peacetime. Like, meh. Like,
and Laris said to her, how would it look
yeah,
if we're fighting against the queen on the throne and we put you? And I don't think it had I don't think even up to that until that moment happened, I don't think it had occurred to her that it was really the whole thing against Rhaenyra was so much I think she thought it was less anti-woman as it was just, well, this is what my husband said, he just changed his mind.
exactly.
I said, so it wasn't because clearly he wanted a woman, clearly they were ready for a woman on the throne because everybody had pledged, some people had pledged that they would bend the knee when Rhaenyra got on the throne. But hey, he just changed his mind at the last second and he named Aegon. So that's what it was. It wasn't so much that they hated a woman. And then she was like, when that happened, you could see the look on her face. Especially, I love that the editing and that how they made the sound of the conversation going on at the table around her so muted, like she was kind of like
Yes.
underwater, like
Yes.
listening to it and like drowning in the realization of, holy, I'm on the wrong side of this. Like,
Yep.
this has spun like, oh, that's what this is about. And I am so not about this fight. Like I
And the
can't
two people
believe.
you've been pimping yourself out to didn't have your back either. The guy you were showing your feet and the other guy whose post you're on, they both were like, nah, we need a man on the throne. Like, it's
Yeah.
it,
But
it,
I like
it's sucks, but that's how it is.
Right. And she, yeah, whereas again, you have the flip side to that. You had Rhaenyra actually sitting down with her son and them like like she's had to learn how to delegate and like clearly is in this like because things are falling apart with Damon still.
Without Rainey's there, you could see not her losing control. I don't know if that's the right term, but you could see without, because even though Rainey's never was the queen that never was, you could tell that when she started speaking, she shut up, or everyone shut up and listened to her. Like she was
Right.
a commanding force in the room, and you could just
Right.
tell that Rhaenyra was missing that force behind her
Oh, sure.
kind of at the beginning when she was talking. And again, I still go back to what I said last week, where I do think that her council needs to kind of communicate more, but at the same time, the other side is actively gaining ground, making moves, taking castles, and you guys have done little to nothing. Yes, you finally did send Rhaenys out there, but it was in a losing effort. You now lost her, you've lost her wisdom, you've lost her dragon, and the castle that she was going to defend was lost anyway. So while technically you finally did make a move, in the end it didn't really matter. So you're kind of back to where you were, except you're short a person and a dragon. So you can
Right.
see the frustration really starting to mount on that side. And I think she was kind of starting to see that,
It's
which
starting
is,
yeah, spiral. Yes, that
yeah,
it was slowly like the where she even just kind of tells the one guy like, listen, I know you we don't get along, but like and it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, she, everybody's throwing ideas at her and like she's really kind of waiting for Damon to come back and he's not, but she can't capitulate to him because then that shows weakness. Like, I'm begging you to come back. And
you think she
he's
knows what he's up to? Because she kind of alluded to knowing that he was up to something less than noble, but like, does you think she knows that he, or has an idea that he's pretty much been like, this is now a
call me
three-person
king.
war? Yeah.
like you need
What would
like
you
first
call
it
me
was
if I was with the queen, or we were married or whatever? He's like, we call you the king.
king
Exactly. Consort. I was like,
consort.
ooh, get him, get him.
And I was like, oh, and he was just kind of like consort. And he was
Yeah.
like, I was like, yeah, because he went from like, don't call me your
Prince
prince,
to your
and then it was, well,
grace.
call me your grace, and now he's like, you need to refer to me as your king. And I was like, brother, you're pushing it. First of all, I thought it was very funny that not only on this show but on The Crown, he has played a prince to a queen and
Sarah
hasn't
said that.
liked it very much.
Yeah. Sarah said that as well. 'Cause I don't watch The Crown, but Sarah does, and she made the comment
Like,
that,
wow.
yeah.
He plays that role so well of being just pissy about
You've been
being
typecast as an actor.
who can't get the throne.
Yeah, you're like right there, but you just can't make it.
Yeah, that was I so I mean like do I she probably has an idea because
Because
of
he
the
hasn't
whole.
responded to any of the Ravens.
Right. And she even says, like, because when I think that she tells that Alfred Broom, like, tell him, he's like, do you want me to tell him anything? She's like, tell him I wish to continue the conversation we are having. So I think she knows that he's not over it because he would have been responding and
Right.
things. So either she thinks, I mean, I don't think I can't tell if he's trying to prove himself outside of her crown shadow or if he's kind of like a less psychotic version of Aemon, where Aemon is just clearly wanting the throne. I mean, like, is clearly wanting the throne, is willing to cook his brother, George Foreman grill his Aegon into getting the throne, whereas like Damon's doing it more politically, like where he's doing it not so much.
Is it more politically?
well, he's
I
not
mean, he's not outright
cooking.
killing Rhaenyra, which I guess technically, like you're saying, he barbecued his brother. If he wanted to take it, he would attack her.
He just kill her. I mean,
Yeah,
he's had plenty of opportunities of being alone
yeah,
with her. I mean, like, I mean, I'm not saying that somebody wouldn't kill him in the present, but I'm saying like his are less like, again, less psychotic methods of trying to get the throne, but still trying to get the throne nevertheless. You know, like
right.
he's doing it, but in a way like, well, if I can build an army and I show up with an army, then who's, then I'm, but
I can get
I,
other smaller councils or castles to bend the knee to me, and then he
right.
has the angle of I was rightfully next in line, even though my
Yeah.
brother named Rhaenyra multiple times and then dragged his zombie body out to do it one more time. He still
When I
wouldn't
put the
meet
crown
Rhaenyra.
on his head, right? Like, and
Right.
that's, but so were you the one scene with Damon?
Yes.
Um, did you have any idea that it was his mother?
No. So here's in my mind, my reactions.
I originally
Episode,
thought it was Viserys's wife. I
I
don't
mean,
know
technically,
why.
wouldn't it be? No, 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 it wouldn't. Okay. Yeah. We never saw, no, we did see her. You're
Yeah,
right.
the first
So
episode.
my thoughts was like sitting next to Sarah watching, scene starts, and I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
who is that? Next words out of my mouth. I don't know, but she's a baddie. Sarah next to me. I'm like, look, I'm just saying. And she's like, well, she's a Targaryen because you see the hair. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
she's a Targaryen, all right. I wonder where he found her.
Shh, we overlooked that. We overlooked that
Right.
in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I was like, she's a baddie though. And I said it again. And then when she says that, I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa. And yeah, it's funny because we all collectively, I think, across the country, across the world, had that reaction. And then it's like we have seen so much of this family stuff since Game of Thrones, but like something about this one just
Yeah, it's one of
I
those
don't like
like,
it.
yeah, like you're like, okay, you're like, okay, brother and sister, and you're like, this is not great. This is horrible. And then you just get used to, I don't know, maybe because they're of consent. I don't know. I don't want to even try to, I'm not even going to try to work through it in a
Yeah.
justification. But like we've done that. We've had aunt and nephew with John and Daenerys, and then you've had uncle, her
When we
husband
saw
uncle.
Helena on screen, I literally said, "Oh man, she's going through it. She lost her kid like a couple weeks ago. Now she lost her husband, or might be losing her husband." Sarah next to me, and her brother, and like I completely forgot, and I was like, "Who? Oh my God!"
Right.
Like
Right.
I've
Yeah,
just
because
normalized the sister wife in my head
right.
because it's just so common now in this world, in this universe. But yeah, I was like, oh, she lost a kid
That's
and a husband and a brother. And I was just like, oh yeah. But then I
that's what's like,
see Damon and I'm like, nah, I don't know.
yeah, like that. And then it's like when Helena says to Aemond, was it worth it when he's standing in front of the throne? And I'm thinking, this is just such a weird dynamic because it's her husband who's cooked and it's her brother, but she's still her other brother is, and I'm just like, that's just
In that moment, I forgot again that like I continue to forget that Helena is like part of the trio.
right.
Like again, I was like, Helena lost a son and a husband. Sarah had to remind me also and a brother. And then when she says, "Was it worth it?" I'm like, she's about to get revenge for you almost killing her man. And then again, I'm like, also a brother.
Yeah, when it's like, okay, and it's the three of you are brothers,
Yes.
all of you are brothers and sisters, and but she's married to one, like,
Yeah.
And even, but yeah, it was the mom. It was the mom. I was like, oh, we've taken it.
Did
We've
he know
pushed.
this?
Hmm?
Did Damon know it was his mother until that moment?
I
Like, I'm not the biggest
don't
fan of
think
him right
so
now, but
because
we
I
got to give
think
him. This man's hallucinating. He is
I
on a trip.
thought I I could be wrong, but I thought she died in childbirth with him.
That's what I think. I don't think
Yeah,
he ever saw her unless there were paintings or statues of her.
right. But I mean, he must have known her because he's clearly working out some Oedipus stuff with all the women in his life, which is very funny again with the contrast between him and Eamon because Eamon is clearly his mommy issues with the older hooker.
It's
He
true.
snags the oldest the oldest dinosaur, the oldest dragon, the mama dragon.
Yes,
He snags like he snags the old lady for the dragon. He is banging the old lady madam.
that's
He's he's
true.
he's got some mom things and clearly now Damon does as well. Plus, I mean, like you're seeing all the women in his life.
So what happens when he gets back to Dragonstone and he sees the White Worm there? Because she's pretty much like worked her way up the ladder, and I feel like she's under Rhaenyra's protection now. And
She's
once Damon
basically,
gets off this
yeah,
bad trip, he's gonna be like, "What is
she's
she doing?"
basically her Laris, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, yeah, I mean, she's basically telling
She's
her,
given her all the info. She told her how to sneak into King's Landing. She's now telling her like to use the citizens of King's Landing against them. She is might as well be on the council at this point. But like she's in a better position with Laris because she's more low key, which is kind of what she likes and what she knows.
right.
So, but yeah,
And
I just
Laris always
I
speaks in like fucking in friggin' riddles and stuff. And so it's like you like you're just like, yeah. I really kind of actually was surprised that he took their all their sides, you know, like Dame or Amon's and Kristen's and uh yeah, like against her. But then I thought,
agreed. I thought he
but
would be the one. I didn't
yep,
think Crispy Cole would. His was the least surprising to me. I
sure,
100% thought
Laris was
Laris
saying,
was like when she turned to him or whoever asked it was either her or Cole asked, I was like, oh, she'll have one person on her side, but he has real no title, so who is he? And then when he was even like, no, I
how
was
would this
like,
look?
ooh.
I was like,
Like that was the one that I was
when he lowered the
certain.
blow up, and I think that's kind of what even kind of like smacked her into reality when he said, well, he's like, we're in a war right now to keep basically a woman off the throne. How would it look
Yeah,
if we make you queen? If, you know, and that's when she just kind of, she's just started drowning in the self realization of, oh my God, this is not about my husband just changed names at the long time is they're doing all this literally to keep a woman off. They're doing what they can to keep a woman off. Like
yep.
this is an extreme of what they're trying to do to keep a woman off the throne. And just, yeah, no, it was, and
So
Eamon.
that's two times now that he in recent weeks. I don't know how much time has passed. She has twice now basically had reality hit her in the face and show her that she's on the wrong side.
Oh yeah,
And there's really nothing she can do about it either. Because
yeah,
again, let's say because Ivan said even after Rhaenyra told her about the Song of Ice and Fire, I said even because even everyone's like she still went along with it. I said not that I'm on her side, but what was she supposed to do in that
right.
situation? And then you look at this situation and realize like okay, we did all this because we didn't want a woman on the throne, even though my husband he changed his mind. Like you are now realizing again that you're wrong, you're on the wrong side. But again, just like last time, what can she do in this situation, especially with Aemond in charge now?
Ugh, psychopath.
there's literally like she's in a worse spot than she was before.
She was doing everything she could not to put him as protector of the realm. She was like,
Yeah.
who would like to do this? Because
And Sarah made a
can't be
point.
him.
She was like, you think now she's also she even acknowledged like he's not ready. He lets his temper get the best of him. You think she ever sits back and thinks, you know, maybe you did start the fight that lost you your eye, because she was trying to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
other guy, the kids, to be punished because it was he said, she said in that moment. And of course, each parent is taking their own kid's side, and they never got over it, obviously. But now you've seen him lose his temper, got the son killed. You are pretty sure he got your other son barbecued and all this other stuff. You are now publicly telling the council to his face, yeah, he's not ready. He can't control his temper.
He's sorry, he's a psycho.
Now you're sitting here like, "Ah, maybe you did start that fight. Maybe you did
Oh,
deserve to
she
lose
a
your eye."
100%. This when she went in to confront Kristen about what happened at Rook's Rest, and she anytime a woman asks questions, she already probably knows
Already
the
knows the
answer.
answers, wants to see if
She
you're going to be honest.
right, she's just going around at that point for verification. So she 100% knew because she kept looking at him like when he was back, like it's when she saw the dagger in his belt. She was like, okay,
Yeah.
this kid's he's like, how else would he have gotten, like, how did he get it? Did he, fight him? Like, what is she knew then? So then she goes into Kristen while he's cleaning his sword, and when she's like, what happened? Or she was like, and like, what part did Eamon play in it? And he paused, and I told the kids, I was
That's
like,
all she needed.
that's all she that pause was all she needed to know. That was he said more in that pause of, it's like there was that big pregnant pause of him not saying anything and then going back to like, or like, I don't know, like, or whatever he
Yeah.
said that was super vague. I was like, he didn't have to say anything at that point. At that point, she knew. Like the minute he paused and was like, and then went back, I was like, she knows. She knows. I mean, she knows her is as much of a hand as she had not in raising those kids, and she doesn't have a bond with them. That's all that show is always showing you the complete opposite. Like you have Rhaenyra with her children, and that
Yeah.
she's super loving, and she's there grieving with Jacaerys, and she's, when they lost Luke, and she's confiding in him and talking about plans with him, and she's one-on-one with him. And you've got Allison on the other hand, who is like completely withdrawn from her children. They have no relationship. Like broke my even heart when like she walked out you and you heard Aegon say mummy when she
Yeah.
walked out of the room at the end of that, like this is terrible, it's horrible.
They
And
are
it's like
really driving home that lack of relationship. Like it's clear, but with every episode, they find new ways to remind you.
that,
Like, just in
right,
case you forgot,
right.
her
And
kids
that's
are
just
two ships passing in the night.
yeah, it's like you have her like doing everything again to keep her one child like from ruling and doing anything of that has anything to do with just any kind of power. And like I said, and then you have the flip where Rhaenyra is like, she talks to him a whole bunch and she's wanting to like, what do we do? And like, I wasn't happy that you went out, but like the missions he goes out on, like he's actually like trying to shore up allegiances and passageways for troops. And you've got her
Yeah.
other son who is like his the only thing he can do is jump on his, again, I'm almost called a dinosaur, his huge dragon, his like that's his claim to fame is I've got the biggest dragon, so I can just basically toast anybody out of the sky.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got one that, yeah, it was really interesting in like how they both dealt with delegation as far as this war is going on, but how it's going, even though it's not going smooth for Rhaenyra, she at least has a circle, the circle of trust, around her. Like she is willing to say, okay, what do I need to do then? How do we go about this? Like, what are your suggestions? Whereas the Allison is just completely kind of she's iced out as far as all that goes.
The way I kind of see it is the two differences in the councils. And I realize that Rhaenyra is the queen, so she's like the head in this
Right.
council. But in her council, when she's been gone, which has been quite a bit, it's she is noticeably absent, and they are asking where is the queen. When Allison's not there, literally nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No one does.
She
Right,
shows up.
because
It's like, oh, we're oh, okay, yeah. I guess you can come in here
yeah,
too.
because they don't consider her a viable part of any kind of
Exactly.
any, they just you go and you go do your cross stitch or your
Yeah,
embroidery like a good little
you've
girl.
done your job. You've had the babies. You're
Right.
honestly like, what are you still doing here?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, right now she's like, oh, they really don't want me ruling it. I was like, well, you really didn't get that this again, that this wasn't about you getting your son in there. It was more just it was just so not we're gonna do everything we can to keep a woman off. I did like to see Bela confront her grandfather,
That ooh,
basically tell him to
felt
pull
that
his head
line
out of
in
his
my
butt.
chest, but I'm also like, are you sure that was the right move? Because like you're saying I'm blood and fire. You are just as much one as you are the other. Like, come on now. And you turn down like a whole kingdom. Good for you standing on business, but I was like, I don't know about that. But I felt that in my soul when she said it.
It was like yeah, you need sand, was it sea and salt in your
But
like
who would be left then?
he well that would be a spoiler.
Oh,
The
well,
you well, I mean, the thing is you've met them.
yeah, those guys. It's fair. Makes
So I
sense.
mean, one of the I mean, it again, it's not really a spoiler. You've seen oh
Adam.
silver not Silverwing. Oh, what's it was the one who he died. Well, he not died because they just sent him. I don't know how he doesn't know or have heard about this war going on because in the book he's dead, but in the first season,
Rhaenys died not knowing that he was actually alive. She died still blaming Rhaenyra
yeah,
for it.
right, which is amazing that she would still go into a suicide mission. She has thrown everything behind Rhaenyra with that thought of you still had a hand in killing my son, but you can't think of her son's name, but his dragon is still out there. You remember that was circling around, and Adam, I think it was either Adam or Alan that looked up. Um, spoiler alert, when they go to find dragon riders, obviously, one of the it's Adam Hull or Adam of the Hull
How
is
is he a dragon rider? The
because he's a Valerian through Corlys.
Valerians can.
Yeah. They're kind of one in the same. I mean, like, that's the reason they kind of wanted Rhaenyra with
Oh,
that's
duh.
because like Rhaenys is a
Yeah,
like she's a Targaryen, but then he's Valerian. They're like all kind of start, the blonde hair kind of sort of the faction, but yeah, he's considered a Valerian, so because he's Corlys's
yeah.
bastard kid. So he's going to
And
be a
Valerians
dragon
can ride
rider.
dragons as well.
I forgot what
Because why doesn't Corlys have one?
he likes the ships.
That's true.
He's
We
a
do
ship
call him the
guy.
sea snake.
He's the sea
So you
snake.
saved his life, and now you get to inherit a whole kingdom. Must be nice. A nice little come up.
I mean, like the one kid said, I mean, he kind of does owe us.
It's true. It's
I mean,
true.
like we're not legitimate. Like, I mean, that will be something that they deal with on the show. Like, I would imagine, because, like I said, that's in the book. As far as, I mean, it's. I don't want to say like to me, like those things. I know they're spoilers, but like to me, those aren't really giving away too much of like major plot points. Like,
Right.
though he does go to Rhaenyra and ask them to be legitimized as heirs. And like I said, and the one does claim, and I can't think it was gray smoke, sea smoke. I
Yeah.
can't think of this. I almost said dragon again. Oh no, I did say dragon. Huh, I almost said
Yeah,
dinosaur.
dragon, not
Ooh,
dinosaur.
yes,
Hold on a minute. I have it. I have it right here because I was
I
just
think it's
talking
sea
about
smoke.
them. It is sea smoke.
Okay, he
Third smallest
yes,
after
Adam
Cyrus.
Adam
Or
of the
second
Hull, Adam
smallest.
Hull, yes, gets sea smoke, and he's one of the dragon riders. The reason you've been introduced to Hugh Hammer is he gets Ver all these names. Varamore, Varathor,
That one's
Varamathor.
pretty big.
Yeah, that one,
Oh,
the
wait,
a
how
big
does that guy get there? Well, first of all,
he has again, they know that these kings have been out there pumping every whore, and so like so there's plenty, and then that Ulf the White who was bragging that
yeah,
he is a dragon, he becomes a dragon rider as well. Vermithor. That's the one, but that doesn't like the names are just so it's like Vermithor, Grey Ghost, I believe. Ulf the White gets Grey Ghost, and then you're gonna see a girl named Nettles
Vermithor,
goes to
Dreamfire, Melees, Dragon, Rhaegal, Caraxes, Sea Smoke, Cyrax.
yeah, I believe it's Grey Ghost goes to Ulf, and then Sheep Stealer goes to Nettles. Um,
Stealer, what a name.
right. Well,
It
then
was
there's
interesting to see,
Cannibal.
not interesting, but it's something that we had talked about, where you kind of had alluded to as the war continues, it kind of trickles down, which we've been
Sure.
saying. And you really are seeing it with the people in King's
Oh
Landing.
yeah.
They are really going through it to the point that they're trying to leave and they're like, no, you
They're
got to stay.
they're pulling a Shogun where they basically are trapping the people inside the kingdom, and
You're not trapped. You just can't
you
leave.
just can't
Why
leave.
would you
And
want to?
yeah, yeah,
They finally
because
cut the rat catchers down.
we know you're going to defect. We know you're going to leave. We need you to be here and cooking meals for the king and making swords and all that kind of stuff. Plus, I mean, it's really handy to have a whole bunch of human shields when it comes to when because we know, like they said, everything that we know, or they're planning on doing the same thing. They know eventually they the team black is hitting the shores again. Like there's just no way they're staying out of King's Landing. So it's like, yeah, you need. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because now you've got Linda, I think is her name, the nurse or Rhaenyra's maid going into King's Landing and sowing
Yeah,
more
so I
seeds.
was really confused. I saw her and me and Sarah were both trying to figure out who she was because I like was blanking. And then I'm like, well, the White Worm was telling her like what to do. So clearly she's at Dragonstone. I was like blanking on who she was.
Yeah, and she's talking to the one girl who Aegon raped opens the door.
Yeah,
Right. So I mean, like, yeah, it's yeah, like
someone
they're
said she
going
needs a gun after they saw her again get slapped over at the brothel. Someone's like, they just need to give her a gun. I'm like,
yeah,
honestly. No, I
yeah.
thought it was a very good episode. There was a lot of different storylines that I was trying to keep up
Right.
with.
And setting up for like you can tell these are the episodes that are going to get you to probably something very terrible that happens in the next. I mean, like there's only where that was five, so you got six, seven, and eight. So you're only three more. So I mean, it's and there's a good chance seven if they stay to tradition, seven should be the big one, and then eight will be the fallout, dealing with the fallout and setting up for season three. So yeah, it's I mean they're getting their dragon rider. It's in getting this. It's not going to be. You mean spoiler once again? Spoiler alert or heads up, people! It them getting dragon riders for these dragons is not going to go smoothly. They don't just find these three guys or they don't find these two guys and this girl, throw them on the backs of dragons and away everybody
Everything's good
goes.
to
This
go.
is going to be a process that is not going to go well for a few people. So I mean, like,
That's the war. That's
right,
what happens.
right. But as they're looking at it, is these are, I mean, yes, we need more soldiers, but we also need expendable people on the backs of dragons. I can't send my son out. I, as a queen, can't go out. Um, Bela's dragon is even smaller than I think is Jacerys's. Her sister is, across the sea, and all those are babies. Like the one lady said, is she's like, you guys are, your dragons are still wet from the egg, like, what are you doing for me? Nothing. So they know they have them. So what they need is like, you hate to say it, but they need randos that can be on dragons. So I'm not losing another Rainies.
They need pawns.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and
that's
that's
really what it is,
and
which is
that's what they're gonna get.
unfortunate for them, but y- they, the way to look at it, they couldn't just keep losing main characters this early on.
You're right,
I
right,
think that is basically the way it is.
right.
Um,
Yeah. So like she knows she can't get out on, like, it finally got through to her, like, listen, we can't be doing this, and then you go out and you lose, like, then this will have been for nothing. Your husbuncle is is off, doing, well, having sex with his mother apparently, and being tormented by a witch, and like forgiving war crimes by the Bracken. It just, like,
that was
everything's.
the other thing that I was trying to. So he basically gave the Bracken kid the
Mhm.
green light to. They would rather die than join you in that moment. So he gave him the green light to basically just make them suffer into submission, which is what he did. And then those people pulled in, not really an Uno reverso, but they basically were like, still no. And actually now, even more no than
Hell no.
before. Right.
Not no, but now hell no. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, this is not. So what, like, so you thought we would come to your side by, like, killing our kids
We
and.
were prepared to die right there in the open field with a dragon in our face. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the whole movie scene where they put the gun to their head and it's like, tell me what I want to know. And it's like, no, you might as well pull the trigger. Like, okay. And then they pointed at the friend. It's like, oh, wait. So I guess like that's what they thought would happen, but they were like, nope.
And we're gonna
Still
show up in
no.
the middle of the night, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, so it's going badly for him. I Yeah, he's got some things to work out,
Got
and in
that
the middle.
DIY project. He's just trying to clear his head, so he's repairing a castle. Little HGTV.
I, he's playing Bob the Builder over there, and it just, in the meantime, like, Jacaerys is actually like,
Playing Bob the
he's,
Builder and eating edibles.
which
Yeah. And
which
then
kills
Jaehaerys
me,
is
is
like
because
working.
he's gone and he's secured this castle, which Jacaerys has already turned over to the Tullys.
It's yeah, it's like a
He
revolving
met with
door.
them and they were like, "Hey, we would like to be Lord and late, of Harrenhal," and he's like, "Done." He's like,
What's funny is as easily as Damon took it, they probably could have done that themselves like months ago.
right. But now it's like he's cleared passage for, the people from the north to come down. He's given them a clear pass, clear, instead of months around. Now he's given them straight passage, and to come and fight. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so, and like I said, Damon doesn't even know that what he's trying to rally everybody into, that that castle has already been given him. It's then he didn't even know there was a for sale sign out on the lawn.
I understand he's going through, I don't want to say a character arc, but he's going through this journey as a character. And I understand that characters have different layers and they have different stories they need to tell.
But you're ready for this one to be over.
Yes, I understand the criticism of people that's like, this is the Damon that we knew, and you pretty much sidelined him this entire season, but you didn't just sideline him, you have him hallucinating
Right.
for weeks on end. So it's like it's almost even worse.
Right.
And
And we
again,
want
I
to
know
know,
some people
right. And
hate
you
it.
want to know what the hallucinations ultimately mean. Like,
That too.
are we just watching him hallucinate, or is he actually going to work through something in the end here? Like,
Exactly.
come to some sort of like epiphany and
Yeah.
decide to go back and be like, oh, either I'm just going to go for it and go for the throne, or I've worked out all my female issues and I'm gonna throw my support behind her 100%. Like, give us
It's
Give
reminding me
us
of
the
the
end game on
Bran
this.
storyline with the Wood Elves, that one random season when I was just like, anytime
Okay.
they were on screen, I hated it. And also, honestly, and at least this one had a better resolution, but it got to a point when Arya was off on her adventures and she was with the man with no face or with no name.
Hmm.
Eventually, that storyline, I was kind of like, because there's just so much going on in
Right.
the realm. And I realized she was on this personal journey, and I realized her going on that journey in the end helped
Right.
her make sure that the North remembers and helped
But
her kill the
that's the
man. Like,
difference. We know
exactly,
now that like there was a purpose in that. Right now we
exactly,
don't see the purpose in it, and it's like
100%,
we better have it.
100%,
We better get some sort of like yeah, there's
because he
better
is
there
a
but
polarizing character that you have. Like, if you had sidelined Jaehaerys, we hadn't really seen a whole lot from him. So if
right.
he was over at the Riverlands hallucinating,
Right.
it's kind of like, okay. But Damon is like, when he's on screen, he is that guy.
Right.
And now he's over here hallucinating. And I'm just like, yeah, exactly. Like, it needs to have a payoff.
Right. With a character that again, I mean, not to she from my understanding, she ends up with Amond. Like, so it's like she's not like he's spending a whole bunch of time with somebody like that, like you would think, okay, well, maybe he ends up sleeping with her or like getting her like that, but like she ends that Alice Rivers ends up with Aemon, for a brief amount of time, before everything kind of comes to a head with everybody
Yeah.
in it. So it's like you just kind of like, okay, well, what goal are we working towards? Because again, now we've got 3 episodes, and Damon, you're really not doing you're you're doing these side skirmishes, and that's great. But ultimately, like the war's still going on, and
Yeah.
you're kind of ignoring everything else that's going on, and
Yeah.
you
It's worse when there's a lot more a bigger story going on that
right.
you should
And
be
clearly
including.
he knows about Rainey's. So it's like
Yeah,
he
that
knows about
one
the
kind of bothered me. I mean, I was already starting to turn on his character, but the non-reaction to that, I was like, oh, okay, F this guy.
right. And it's like this, so they've lost
A
the biggest
dragon,
and the fastest dragon that they had at that moment
yes.
there. And you're just kind of still like looking at goats. Like I don't like yeah, we got to figure this one out. So
Yeah.
I am curious because again, it'll be over. Like I said, there's only 3 left. I don't know if they're gonna take a week off between. I don't know, like and like
I
sometimes
would
they had
love
done
for
that.
it to be next week because next week is, I'm just not going to be. They would have announced it already, but next week is my final volleyball game, and it's like they have like their final game and playoffs all in one night. So
Mhm.
like on the schedule, it literally says be prepared to play all night. I'm like, here's the thing, guys. Either no, maybe we throw the game in like the second round and we're like, I gotta
Dang
go.
it.
Oh, Will, you want to go
Ooh.
and celebrate the end of the season? No, like I'm already in my car.
Or are you gonna play? Are you gonna like just pull up HBO Max on your phone and play with one hand? No, it's great, guys. It's
I would do it. I would do it. Like, this is the week that I've been dreading coming
Mhm.
up, and
But this is it, right?
this is it. After that,
Well,
I'm
I
trying to
mean,
get
at least it's not the finale,
right. That is
right?
true.
I mean, it's like you can do this, and at least it's not week 7,
Also,
right? So at
that would
least
have
you've
really
got
hurt.
this one when you're like, well, maybe I just get another kind of filler episode that moves me towards 7, or like gives me a horrible sense of foreboding for episode 7.
Right.
So I can really get in there and enjoy the juicy,
Yeah.
which not to say juicy, but I just knew they were going to show them peeling his armor off.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, I know this is how I'm like, I know this is what they're gonna show. And they
It was gross, but the one that got me was when either the arm or the knee that they like popped back
oh
into place.
yeah,
Like the peeling, I was like, ugh. But that one, I'm like, no, no. Why are we doing this right now?
because it's gotta be gross. there
Yeah.
can't be something not gross on Game, on House of the
Yeah,
Dragon.
HBO was like, we can pretty much show whatever we want. We've proved that. They think we're not going to show us popping this bone back into place. I'm just like, can you guys not? Like,
No, then they were like,
I
no, we
I give
have
you a
to.
pass for a lot of stuff, but I don't want to see that.
Because you're thinking about like, oh my gosh. So I listened to like a podcast with the director of that episode, and she was like, there's a lot of things that we took into consideration, like how long were they on the road, and she's like, we figured it that it would be about a 10-day journey back. So we were trying to calculate like how much dirt would get in there and put like it's fascinating, but at the same time you're just like, this is thank you, but it's so gross.
10 days he had that armor on. You saw the
Yes,
maggots or the flies around the dragon's head and how the
right.
people did not react how they wanted them
And
to.
because again, it's one of those things where like Kristen Cole just doesn't understand the, and you can tell like Allison, like the ones who are not Targaryen because they are high towers, they did not understand the Targaryen lore. And as far as like in that kingdom, the Targaryens are considered almost godlike because they have dominion over these beasts. And it's like that's a horrible omen for like you don't say ignorant folk, but I mean like they're, it's a time where people aren't reading,
Yeah.
and it's just what they're told by the royalty and stuff like that. So it's like it against they just misplayed. It's like, why aren't people happy? And they're like, well, I mean, you pretty much have kind of shown that these things can be defeated. And so kind of also what's the point of your power if you're
Right.
easily taken out of the sky like that, and like, oh, these things can be defeated, maybe we're not as safe as we thought.
Right.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was a lot to unpack in that episode. There was a lot of deep, things that were shown but had so much deeper meaning behind it. So I'm glad, like, again, they don't ever, unlike some shows, they don't tend to waste an episode. There are a lot of things happening even if it's not fighting. So
The story is constantly moving forward, and
yes.
that's something you can say that.
Yeah, speaking of, I guess we'll see how the last episode of The Acolyte goes tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I actually have Twisters to screen.
Ah,
So
that I'm
I still have
curious about
tickets
it.
left.
Is there, do
I
you?
I still have tickets left, yeah. I'll send you the link.
I'll just see what I've got going on
Yeah.
tomorrow. And by going on, I mean if Sarah's got
It's at
clients.
it's at the Galleria. So think about it. All right. Till then, I guess we're gonna talk about Acolyte later this week. So
Yes.
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, but not
Yeah.
looking great.
No.
So until then, bye.
We'll see ya.